What's up, guys? Back today. There's a lot to talk about, and even though I did put out a 1 hour video yesterday talking about all the new information after the announcement for the new NASCAR Heat game, NASCAR Heat 3. Even after doing an hour-long video, I feel like I still got to go back and talk about some of the other things that I didn't even get to, as well as things that I did talk about but really didn't get into. And I did, I was able to find out some more information thanks to Elite Killer. He sent me a link to an article, one of these publications that got early access to the game and talked to the developer. And they talked about a few things that I didn't know. Once again, I'm surprisingly excited about this game. So there's a lot to talk about. But before I get to that, there's a couple of quick things I want to talk about. One thing, I was going to do a video about Saturday's race. And like I said before, I'm not planning on doing a weekly review of these races and stuff. Other people do that. But this weekend in particular, I want to talk a little bit about it simply because I've been telling you guys, well, personally, I hate restrictor plate racing. And this weekend was atrocious, especially the Cup race. Now, the end of the nationwide race, or the Xfinity race, I'm sorry, that was a real controversial finish. I didn't get to watch that race, but Larson won. I like Larson. I'm a fan, but it didn't look good. I know there's certain rules that just seem to be confusing. You're not supposed to go below the line. I forgot the driver, but who was called for going under the line. It was just he only had like 2 tires below the line, and I don't know, man. That ending was really bad. That's not good for NASCAR. My thing is this. I'm not gonna get too much into that, but if they fucked up that call, I don't think anything's stopping NASCAR from going back, or they could have went back and just, even if it was the next day, and just said, so and so won the race. We screwed up the call. We thought, he got all 4 tires below the line. I'm not sure if he did or didn't, but I heard a lot of controversy. If they fucked up the call, go back and fix it. I'm sure that people would be more receptive to that. But apparently, I guess they don't think they messed anything up, and I don't know. It's the kind of thing that just really makes NASCAR look bad. One last thing about it. The first Daytona 500, I believe, ended in a huge controversy. And the very next day, NASCAR came out, and I believe they announced the winner. And I think it was Lee Petty. I don't know if he's the one that was said to finish second, but they looked at the photo finish. And back then, technology wasn't what it was today. They really had to go back. It took a day, but the next day they got the call right, and they just said, they put it, they made the announcement, and they made the right call. It turned out that I think it was Lee Petty was just in front of, I don't remember who it was. Was it Johnny Beauchamp? I don't remember. I mean, it's been a while since I saw anything about that. But the point is, if you mess up a call, there's nothing to stop them from going back and fixing it. Moving on from that, yesterday, driving home from work, I was listening to NASCAR on the radio, and I think it was Claire B. Lang and a couple of the people in the studio, and they were talking about Saturday's race, and they were raving about what a great race it was. That was a horrible race. When you have half the field out of the race before the halfway point, you can't call it a great race. I don't understand people's fascination with restrictor plate racing. I think it's horrible. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because After the All-Star race, I saw so many people talking about how great it was and how we need to see that everywhere. And I said, that's a horrible idea. I don't like this manipulated form of racing. You always get a great finish. I'll concede that. But the reason you get the great finish is because the racing is manipulated. You can't do anything without other cars helping you. The racing is fabricated to create pack racing. You're inches apart all the time. So of course these races are always going to end in dramatic fashion. And that's not, a great finish isn't going to fix the fact that the 3.5 hours of horrible racing. And I don't know what the fuck Stenhouse's deal is, but it seems it's not just Stenhouse, because it seems like every restricted plate race there's that one guy who feels like this is my race, I'm here to win, and I'll do whatever it takes. And they end up driving like idiots, running into people, side drafting over aggressively, making boneheaded moves. I don't know how many people he took out. I haven't seen someone take that many people out in a race in different incidences that in a long time. I don't know, man. I hope somebody in that garage with a pair of balls walked up to him after the race and got in his face, because that guy, I don't get it. He was a real bonehead Saturday night. But it wasn't just him. The whole racing, it was awful. It was an awful race. We went from the best race of the year at Chicagoland to the worst race of the year. And it's a restrictor plate race. Now, restrictor plate racing is not going anywhere. I get it. We're stuck with the 2 Talladegas and 2 Daytonas every year. Okay, we're stuck with it. So I'm okay with that. I've accepted it. It's not going to go anywhere. And for some reason, people treat those races like they're extra special. They're extra special to me because they're extra boring, and they're just, I hate them. But I just wanted people to think about that, and the stupid idea that people have that, oh, we need to see that package at other tracks like we saw at the All-Star race. It's a horrible idea, and if NASCAR even thinks about doing that, they're idiots. So that's all I wanted to say. And moving on to the real subject at hand is talking about all this information. A lot of stuff that I want to talk about today that I really either talked about but really couldn't get into it too much. The video was an hour long yesterday. My videos always end up a lot longer than I intend them to be, but that's the way I am. I kind of get into talking about stuff and it just takes its own course. So hope you guys could, accept that. But before I even talk about that, one last thing, I want to say something. All of these people that always complain about complainers, like myself, other people who criticize games, or who are always critiquing these developers, or just, get mad about certain things. I hope you realize that you guys are wrong and have been wrong. You can't tell consumers that they don't have a right to complain. And I've heard so many times about either like the game or don't play it. You don't like it, don't buy. It's like that dismissive, just a lowbrow argument. That's not even a real argument. You don't like hearing people complain. You're constantly defending developers for making substandard products, and then you get mad at people for having the audacity to complain. You're wrong. If you don't realize how wrong you are by now, that I don't know what to tell you. But you should be grateful, because it's people like myself and all these other people who complain, who've been criticizing these developers, who've been telling, it doesn't always work, but eventually It does work. They do listen. They are aware of what's going on. And with this upcoming game, and when you look at all the features and all the extra stuff they've added, and not only that, they have been on record several times as saying, we've heard the fans, we've heard the hardcore gamers, we're listening. When they talk about the improved AI, they've confirmed that they've made it more harder. I'll talk more about that in detail, but they clearly said, we heard that our most hardcore players, it wasn't challenging enough, and we made sure to address that. That would never have happened if people like myself and others stopped complaining. So the reason that you are getting better and better games, it's because of people like us. You should be grateful. And it's because of us that some of these features are now coming back. So I don't understand this mentality where it upsets you that people complain. We have a right to complain about these games. We paid for them. And if they're substandard, and if there's a way we can help the developer understand how to make the product better, they're supposed to listen to us. Now, if I'm a developer, yeah, it's going to hurt my feelings to hear people say, oh, this game sucks, or this and that, just negative stuff. It's going to bother me. But if I'm a professional, I'm going to take that. I'm going to understand that I can make my product better and something that appeals to the people who are buying this product. And that they're actually helping me. It's, it's not fun hearing negativity, but professionals understand this is part of the business. And they have been open about it. They said, we're listening. We're trying we're trying to give people what they want. And that's great. So you really should be grateful, because that's why these games get better. That's all I'm going to say about that. So, I hope that those of you who do get mad about people complaining and stuff, maybe now your eyes are opened and you can realize, you know what? They don't always listen right away. Sometimes it takes time. Sometimes you got to keep hammering away. And eventually they're like, we better do something about this. People are pissed. At some point they're not going to support our product. If you don't put fire to their ass, you're not going to ever get what you need or want. So that's it. I just wanted to get that off my chest because I'm just sick of it, and I've been talking about this stuff since 2012, after the first game in 2011. So it's a long fucking time I've been talking about a lot of this stuff, and we're finally starting to see this stuff come to fruition in these games. So what if, people like myself and other people just left the games alone and said, hey, they're just a small developer, you're lucky you got a game. I promise you, we wouldn't have had what we're getting now. And we don't know if it's going to be a great game, but the point is that they're trying. And they've made a concerted effort, and they've openly admitted, yes, we're listening. We hear the complaints, and we're trying to address it. You still want to tell us that we should stop complaining? That's all I'm going to say. So let's move on to the information. So I looked at the article. I forgot the name of the publication, but I read it, and I saw some new stuff there I wasn't fully aware of. And there's still things that I didn't see or hear that I didn't get to talk about yesterday. So I made a quick list of stuff that I wrote down. That's why I keep looking over. But I want to make sure I don't miss anything. So hold on a second. Get a pen. I want to make sure I don't repeat myself if possible. So the one thing I've noticed that people keep bringing up and are really kind of disappointed with is the Unity engine and the subject of graphics. Now, like I said yesterday, the game really kind of looks the same. And I looked at the video, at the trailer again, and I realized something. There are some spots where there is sort of an obvious upgrade. But here's the catch, right? And here's the thing I want to explain to people, because I've talked about the whole game engine debate. I've been trying to get people to understand the whole subject of game engines, right? I'm not an expert, but I've looked a lot into it, and I keep hearing people, and they feel like, oh, everything is bad because of the game engine. If they only switch game engines, it would fix everything. And I've tried to tell people, these game engines are not a magic wand. You don't just put a new game engine and it fixes everything that's wrong with the game. Or it doesn't just make everything look better. It doesn't work like that, right? The game engine is a tool and a framework to build a game on, or a canvas, so to speak. Now, the majority of the game, as I said, this is the third game off the original build, which was Heat Evolution, the first game. This game is still built on that. I don't think people realize that. I keep telling you guys, this is still part of the original build. And the only way you're going to get a completely different looking game is to start from scratch and rebuild everything and render the game differently. This game is already built on the original Unity engine. Now, they are now using the upgraded Unity engine. But the upgraded Unity engine, the DNA is still the same as the original Unity engine. It is improved, but it shares the same DNA. So you can go into an existing game that was built off Unity, and using the new upgraded Unity engine, you can add things to it that are working with the upgraded part of that engine or the latest update. And you can add new stuff, new content, and you could probably go back and tweak some stuff. You might be able to play with the lighting and the contrast and the shading and whatever little tricks they use, right? But when you do that, you're not going to see a big difference. It's very subtle differences. And there's a limit to what you can do to content that already is rendered. Now, I'm going to use one quick little example. If I took a blank piece of paper and I drew a picture of a house, right, with a pencil, you could look at it and say, okay, that looks like crap. It's pretty bare bones. It just looks like something a 5-year-old drew. I can go back and I can get a pencil. I could get some magic markers, different colors. I can go back. I can add some shading. I could add some more detail to the windows and stuff. So I could make the original drawing look slightly better. But if the original drawing was crap and there's a limit to what I can add to it, it's only going to look marginally better. The only way that you're going to get a great looking house is if I crumble up that piece of paper, throw it out, grab a new blank sheet of paper, and start completely over. And that's what I tell you people. Until they rebuild a game from scratch, using this updated engine or another engine, whatever engine, you're not going to get a dramatically improved graphics on a game. So that's why the game looks a lot like it did last year. That's number one. Number two, you can't tell a lot off of a trailer. It's a quick, short little trailer. You're not going to get the full, real look of the game right away. So that's another thing. But the last point, the stuff they did add this year, the content, I do see that a slight upgrade in graphics and just visual quality. So when you look at the trailer, I realize that all the new content that's in the trailer, the stuff they added to the game, like the Dirt series, like, some of these other things, I do see an upgrade. It's not huge, but it almost tell what is made with the updated Unity engine and what's still part of the old engine. So because this is the same engine, but it's the updated version and it shares the same DNA, they can go in and add anything they want and it'll work within the framework of the game because it's still the same DNA. The updated engine works with the old engine, so you can do stuff. But you're not going to get a magically, just a much better looking game. It doesn't work like that. This is what I've been telling people. And I'm kind of saying I told you so. A lot of people came in with big expectations. You're not going to see a dramatically improved visual quality on the game. But there are parts of it that, yeah, it might look better. And from what I saw, from what little you could tell on the trailer, it does look to me like all the new content does have a little bit more shine to it than the old stuff. And the dirt tracks, the dirt physics, well, I shouldn't say physics, but you could see the dirt being kicked up and stuff. It's way better looking than when you look at Eldora from last year. It's night and day. Because I went back, I looked at some footage from Eldora. It's way better. And I'm just talking about that aspect of it. And I'm only looking at the trailer. The trailer's not going to really show everything. This trailer is a little more of a tease. It just gives you a little bit of info and stuff. So keep that in mind. I think when you finally get the final product, you might notice a slight improvement. But that's it. Don't expect more than that. And until they build this game from scratch, you're not going to see a dramatically better looking game. You have to wait for an entire new rebuild of this series. Also, you don't expect to see that anytime soon. In my opinion, right, and if I had to make a prediction, I would say they're probably not going to rebuild this game until there's a new generation of consoles. And I think that's the smart move. You don't want to rebuild the entire game now. They put a lot of work into this. And even though Evolution was a real disappointment, this is still built off of that. With all the improvements and add-ons, you can see this thing is finally starting to take shape. And it's really looking like it's going to be a pretty good game. A lot still needs, you're not going to know till you finally play the game, but I'm just thrilled at the stuff they're actually attempting, which is good. So, there you go with the graphics and the game engine debate, and I keep telling you guys, that's not how it works. So, I would say we might have maybe another game after this, or maybe two more. Who knows? Because I don't think we're going to get a next-gen console for at least 2 years. Okay? A lot can change, but so at that point, yes, I do expect them to just start from scratch and rebuild everything, and then I do expect an upgrade across the board, especially in graphics, right? But you're now rendering a game from scratch, and that's really where the biggest impact is made on graphics. Going back later and trying to upgrade what's already there, what's already been rendered, you don't get a big difference, So I hope I was able to kind of explain it a little better to people. I hope they kind of get it now. And this is what I always said. It's just a tool. These engines, you can do a lot. And especially this upgraded Unity engine, it's capable of a lot of things. But, like I said, you're not going to see the type of stuff that the engine itself is capable of until they rebuild the game from scratch. So, moving on from that, something I didn't really get into in the previous video, the sound. Now, we already know they've recorded engine sounds at Roush, but no mention was made of it in the trailer. I haven't read anything in any of these articles, which I find kind of strange. and no mention of the spotter. So did they work on the spotter? How does these record? How did their efforts at recording? How does that play into the game? Is it a last minute thing? Because that wasn't that long ago that they were recording this stuff. So is this like a last minute thing where they're trying to do something at the end of the development? I don't know. I would love more information from them. Maybe one of you guys can communicate with them on Twitter. But I am concerned. I want to know about the sound, at least hear more detail. Right now, it's all a big assumption because they did record sounds at Roush, and I need to hear more. So, and the spotter, there's no talk about that, and I think those are things that have a huge impact on the game and the feel of the game. And I'm assuming they are working on it, but you kind of want confirmation. The AI. Now, in the trailer, it just says improved AI. But in this article, they actually talk about it. And they said that they clearly came out and they've confirmed the AI is going to be more difficult. And they clearly said, we've heard from our hardcore fans that they need more challenge, and we made it so that when it's at the highest difficulty, it's much harder. So, something that people are asking, how is the difficulty and the progression, how does that work? Now, I'm just guessing here, but I don't think that it's an adjusted type of a difficulty where I think is where when you select the difficulty, if you put it at the hardest difficulty, it's going to be hard no matter what your status is as an owner, as your car, as your equipment, as your personnel. If it really doesn't matter. The AI is going to be it's going to do what it does at whatever you set it. And if it's at the hardest difficulty, I would expect that when you're at the bottom and you're really don't have the best equipment and you don't have your team in order, you're probably going to get your ass kicked, which is good. And I expect the difficulty to be the same throughout. I guess people are kind of wondering if there's going to be some sort of rubber band effect where if you're struggling as a team, that the AI may not be as hard until you get better. I don't think it's going to work that way, and I hope it doesn't. Because your status should have nothing to do with the AI. I want the AI to do what it does regardless of what state you're in. And when you reach when you're at a 5-star level and your equipment is top notch, I still want it to be hard. And that's what I'm looking for. Because guess what? If you are having a problem and it's too hard for you, you can always tune it down. And hopefully they give us better incrementation in the difficulty instead of like these big gaps between one difficulty and the next. Maybe there's more increments where you could really tune it to where it's just right for you. So we got more information, and just knowing that it's going to be more competitive is music to my ears. Now, everything that I tell you is you got to take it easy, because a lot of times you go in it with high expectations and there's disappointments along the way. So I don't expect everything to be perfect. There's going to be things that I'm going to be like, that needs work. This is not working good enough. And believe me, I will be there. I'll criticize when it's necessary. And I'm going to continue to try to send the message to 704. And maybe they never heard of me. Maybe they don't have a clue who I am or any of the things I talked about. But I'm going to tell you something. When I see all the things I've seen this weekend and today, it feels almost like they're listening to me. I think they're listening to the community. And there are others who've taken my message and taken the baton, so to speak, and also promoted it. But that's what I'm so happy about, that this game really feels like something that I would have approved. Yeah, not everything is exactly the way I would like to see it, but the point is that this is a huge step forward, and just trying to put all this stuff in the game, that's what I'm happy about. And I'm going to support 704, and I'm going to be there to let them know what I like, what I don't like, and what I just want them to keep going in this direction, because they are on the right path. So if anybody at 704 ever sees these videos that I make, I do want them to know that I'm really happy. They're on the right path. Whatever they're doing, keep focusing on career mode. This is what's going to make or break your product. Yes, you do got to work on online multiplayer. All that stuff is important, but this is number one. It always has to be top priority, the career mode, because this is what you can really dig into as a player, and you don't have to rely on other people online. You can get lost and immersed in this, and you want to feel as much as possible as you really are an athlete in the world of NASCAR, and now you can be an owner and all that stuff. So I'm really happy with the direction. How deep does ownership go? That's another question. Now, a lot of people look at this stuff and they say, well, it doesn't look like it goes really deep. I kind of want it to go even deeper. But we don't really know how deep it goes. We've seen a couple of tabs, and then it goes from there. It goes to engine, aero, this, and then you got personnel and stuff. We don't know if it goes even deeper. Now, at some point, I think I did see in the article something about upgraded parts. So maybe you go into these areas, the aero, the engine, and then it goes into another section, and then you actually go to individual parts and spend money, and maybe it does go a little deeper. I don't know. This is just speculation. I wouldn't be shocked if it doesn't go much deeper, but if it doesn't, I'm just thrilled that we're at this point. And then the next game, they can keep pushing. That's what I want them to do. You're in the right direction. Keep pushing. Keep pushing in that direction. So we don't know how deep ownership goes. Maybe they'll release more information. But I read a lot of cool things in the thing. Another thing about it that people are saying is, are you only going to be an owner in dirt? Well, that's another thing. I saw in a video, and I think in an article, I don't know if it was this one. Yes, the ownership thing, it's throughout the whole game, which makes sense. So I think we're safe in that department. It would suck if you're just an owner at dirt and that's it. And it just doesn't make sense. So I'm fairly confident that yes, you're going to be able to do the same throughout. How far does presentation go? And I read a lot of cool stuff. And another thing that I read, and it says, there's a couple of things here. New camera views, which is something a lot of people have been asking for, the ability to, more camera views, maybe even look around the car. Well, they listed it, new camera views. So I guess that's what it means. And at one point in the trailer, you do see a quick shot of a car, and the camera kind of starts panning around. And like I said, the trailer was really hastily edited, so it's hard to pick up details, but it does look like it. And new pre-race and post-race presentations. So, in the trailer and in the Amazon information, they do talk about that, in the warm-up lap, in the beginning, you could see a guy maybe get sent to the back for technical violations, and you could hear about who's having a good weekend, and I'm excited about that. But in the trailer, you do see a couple of shots where Logano's up front, and it talks about him on the pole. And what I think is, it's probably going to be, that's probably what they're talking about, and you'll probably see the cars, in the warm-up lap. You'll see the lineup, and then you'll see the text at the bottom. Now, what I want ultimately, I want to hear the commentating or announcer talk about it. So as you watch it, it's almost like a television presentation. I don't think that's what we're getting. So I want to keep my expectations realistic. I think what we saw in the trailer is pretty much what it's going to be. It'll probably be text. So you can read real quick what's going on. If a guy gets sent to the back, you'll probably see him at the back, and then you'll see some text, like Keselowski sent to the back for a a skirt violation or something, whatever it is, and you'll have to read it. Now, I'm just happy that they're headed in the right direction. So I could be overly critical and say, I don't want text, I want to hear it. I want, like in the old games, you could hear the announcer talking, Alan Bestwick, whoever. But this is still good. It's still a step in the right direction. They're paying attention. And that's what I'm happy with. And it said post race. So this is the first time I'm hearing post race. I don't know what that means. The victory lane celebration that comes up in the trailer, it kind of looks exactly like last year. Maybe there's more to it. Like I said, you got to understand this trailer is very short. It doesn't go super deep. And there may be a lot of things that were left out. Maybe you don't get everything right away. So there's still time for 704 to reveal information. But those are new things right there. New camera views, new pre-race and post-race presentations. They're really doing a great job exciting me this year. But like I said, and here's another question mark. Actually, two. Statistics and paint booth. These are things that we didn't see at all in the tabs, and you would expect to see that stuff in the tab somewhere, like statistics, and you could. I gotta believe their stats in the game. I haven't seen or heard anything. That's gonna be a real. I can't. I don't want to see another game with. Now I know they added stats last year, but it was very hastily done. It was a last minute afterthought. It wasn't well done. We used to have games where you could go back year by year and not just see your stats, you could see other drivers. And now that you're a car owner and you can hire personnel, I'm assuming you can hire other drivers to drive on your team. So not only will you drive for yourself, I'm hoping it's like, with Tony Stewart at Stewart Haas, where he was still driving, but he was an owner and he had other drivers. That's ultimately what I want, and I'm hoping that's what it is. But I want to be able to track the stats of my other employees, my team, my other drivers, and stats are so important in a sports game. So I do hope they addressed it, but I'm kind of worried. I didn't see anything about it in the trailer or in any of the publications that have been talking about the game. Same thing with Paint Booth. There's no tab even for customization. So I got to assume that we're at least going to get the type of customization we got last year. And I really hope that they fleshed it out a bit more. They gave us more options. The ability to color the wheels any color we want. Pick more numbers and more fonts. And put your name on the car. And I did hear that, yes, you will be able to use your own name. It's not just going to be your gamer tag. Now, when you go online, yes, I do expect it to be your gamer tag, but when you're playing offline, you should be able to put your name, and I do believe that was confirmed. So, I don't know. Last thing, improved physics and handling. Now, a lot of people are asking about that, wondering. Now, they didn't get into detail, but yes, in the article, they did say they improved the physics and handling. So, what that means, again, it's a question mark, but on the bright side, they said they improved the physics and handling. So, at least knowing that they're confirming they did work on that is a step in the right direction. So, I haven't been this thrilled or excited about a NASCAR game since 2011. That game turned out to be a disaster. But, in terms of excitement, a game I was looking forward to, because you guys got to remember, yes, we do remember the old EA games with fondness, but those were the Thunder games, the ones between 2003, 2006. And as 2007 came and all the way to 2009, they went downhill. They kind of lost the passion for it. And I do remember a lot of people were complaining and they were screaming for a new developer to take over. I do remember that. I know a lot of people have revisionist history and they kind of don't remember that. Now, I know 2009 is a favorite amongst a lot of people, but it's really because I do believe that was the first time that you could download paint schemes. They had some kind of locker thing, and the online multiplayer was a hit with a lot of people. So for those reasons, that game was pretty popular. But overall, the career mode and stuff, it wasn't anything to write home about. So I just bring that up just so people realize that, you know, we are in a good place right now. They're really trying. They're headed in the right direction. And overall, this upcoming game, at least at this point, reminds me of the good old days. The Dirt to Daytona, the NASCAR Thunder 2003, 2004, 2005, even 2006. I'm reminded of that. So there's still a lot we don't know, but I really want 704 to keep talking about it. You know, what's going on with the rival system? Is that still in the game? I hope it is, because I did like it. I just thought it needs work. It's overdone. It's crazy. Make it more realistic. There should be... You shouldn't even know when a guy's going to sort of retaliate. You know, the way it is with NASCAR Heat 2, every time you're near them, they will just try to wreck you. That's not realistic. You know, it should be unpredictable. You shouldn't know. You know, sometimes you'll be able to drive by them and they'll leave you alone, but it's overdone. And so it needs work. I hope they worked on it. You know, you got to keep the things that do work. And let us know about the customization. You know, I'm pretty 99% sure there is no paint booth. We would have known by now. And with all the information that's been revealed through publications, through Amazon, in the trailer, there's no word of it. So I think it's safe to say there's no paint booth. Yes, that's disappointing, but if they added more options and more templates to the customization that we have with NASCAR Heat 2, I think, and more sponsors, I think there's a lot you can do with that, and definitely is a good compromise. So I want to hear about that as well. So I think now I can honestly say I pretty much covered all the talking points. Once again, this video's at 43 seconds over. I mean, at 43 minutes. So I hope you found something worth listening to. I look forward to your comments. Tell me what you think. What do you think about stuff that I talked about? You know, concerning the engine, the graphics. Are you as excited as I am? I think you should be. I don't see how you can't be excited. It's a lot. There's a lot more in this game than I was expecting. So I got to give kudos to 704. I really hope that somebody there has watched this video and the one I did before. I want them to know that their work is appreciated, and that when I do criticize, it's not coming from a bad place. I just want them to give us what we want, and they do seem like they're listening, and I really do appreciate that. I am thrilled, and I'm gonna keep at it. You know, I'm gonna let these guys know, you know, when they do a good job and what needs work, because we want this franchise to keep going where it's going. You guys are on the right track. Do not get off of it. Continue to make the career mode your focus. And you don't need any more series. Don't even worry about that. You know, we got 4 series. One last thing about the Dirt series. I am more excited about it than I thought I would be. And I love that it's a fantasy series. I kind of really like that. I think I prefer that than if they added like a K&N arc or a modified, whatever it is. I like that it's fantasy. I like that, you know, you got some fantasy tracks. I think it's cool. And I really, you know, some of the older games had a lot of fantasy stuff. And I wish they brought back, you know, fantasy sponsorships. I miss that. You know, EA had some really cool sponsors, really funny stuff. Maybe even if it's just for the Dirt series, if you can use, because I know in the other series, you know, with all the licensing, you can't just use fake sponsorships anymore. Can't get away with that like in the old days. But for this fantasy series, just why not have phony sponsors? And it would give it that feel of local sponsorships, like Mike's Mechanic Shop or Mike's Garage, you know, whatever. You know, you could do some cool stuff. And even if it's not in the game, you can maybe later, as a part of DLC. You know, you guys know how I feel about DLC, but that would be cool if you could add a whole slate of phony sponsorships that you can use just with the Dirt series. So that's something to keep in mind. That's it. You know, I don't know what else to say. I'm really pumped up. What do you guys think? I look forward to your comments. And that's it. So you guys have a good one.